perfect.
Okay.
It kind of sounds like a sex thing.
It is, if you want it to be.
I mean, you're not wrong. Everything's a sex thing if
I
you
mean,
want
if
it
you
to
kind
be.
of orgasm when you taste it, it's kind of a sex thing.
Okay.
Oh, what?
What?
You said if you orgasm and taste it?
No. Who said that?
I mean, technically, yes. That's kind of what he said, but not in the way that you're interpreting it.
The miscommunication here.
Those are the words that came out of his mouth. Am I not wrong?
No.
Oh, okay.
I said if you orgasm when you taste it.
Oh.
But they both mean
If you
the same
orgasm
thing,
and
kind
taste
of.
it. I mean, you know.
Are you ready, Rock?
Be very careful when trying to get spitting in my mouth.
Yeah. No shit.
It gets weird.
Yep. All right.
Clink, clank.
Clink, clank, clink,
Clink,
clank.
clank.
Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. Happy holidays, motherfuckers. I'm one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalf. Along to my left,
The dispatcher,
elf
Mark Plover.
on the shelf.
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
And over to my right, Jingle Bells himself.
The John Pettit, handsome John. I was going to say horn in a drawer.
It's almost like I planned all this and didn't tell them anything.
Nope.
As you can tell, we're having our holiday special. We're very festive. We have our wonderful Christmas ale, our adorable hats, and old Saint Nick missing Krampus. Maybe we'll nickname Theodore Krampus. What happened to one of his crown things?
It fell off.
When did that happen?
Probably when
It
they were
happened last
roughhousing
week.
in here.
Yeah, it happened last week.
Happened last week while we were off the show.
Yeah.
You think you can come in this set while we're not here, just knock his crown
You
off?
think you can just do whatever you
and
want?
do whatever the hell you want in this home you live in?
Kind of, yeah.
All right, yeah, that's fine. Of course, we come to you each and every week to discuss the nerdy video game news along with the crazy tech news of the week. It is now the holidays, as you can see from our attire, which means that some news is a little bit slow, though I will say there was an uptick today.
Yeah.
We, of course, can't talk about the fact that Jack Black is thinking about retiring. We also do not have
shame.
time to talk about Orlando Jones being fired from American Gods, which is a shame. We also cannot talk about the fact that Atari is doing a 20 or 80-80-12 split with their developer similar to Epic Game Store, because we here have to talk about what we like to call on this very show, despite the fact that it's a holiday, the important. I'm really
I
proud
didn't
of
fall
both
for
of
it
you.
this
I know
time.
you're good. You're really good. We're start over here with Elf on the Shelf himself, because his is a little bit away from the topic that John and I are going to share. Something about RC cars that's really festive.
Right. Sure.
Yes.
I used to tape my Power Rangers on an RC car and then run around and like try to hit my dog with it.
Animal abuse. You got him, folks. It's on
Yep,
camera.
it's on camera. It's on recording now.
The other thing is so tiny.
The dog.
No, the car.
Anyway, so Google, RCS, topic we've had on this show before.
Yes.
Google, I think we talked about it actually almost last year now. Come to think of it, almost a full
Can we
year
refresh the audience? RCS.
ago. RCS, Rich Communication Services.
Boom.
We know
Basically,
about Rich.
basically, it is supposed to be database or database replacement for SMS, which is currently an antiquated system, which has been modified here and there anyway with MMS and a few other things anyway. There's different protocols to try to add things to it, which would be a better chat platform. Because SMS and MMS are so antiquated, that's given rise to other platforms. Hangouts and Allo were two from Google.
Yep.
iMessage, from Apple. Then there's WhatsApp with Facebook, and Telegram's its own company. As well as other, small chat platforms that have popped up along the way. Like we use Marco Polo.
Oh, yeah.
So
Marco Polo all the time.
now Marco Polo is a little different there, but for text communication, SMS is kind of getting left behind to the point that almost no one's using it anymore. But it is a good backup system because it is a very analog system still that allows you to kind of fall back to it.
It is going to be one of those systems that 10 years from now in a movie, all these communication platforms are going to be out and be like, oh my gosh, what we can go back on? SMS.
Yeah.
Similar to what we do with radio waves now.
Oh my gosh, you only have 3G.
Why is there still one 3G tower left in the world?
Hundreds of thousands of people crowded around it. So RCS is something that Google has introduced anyway to try to be a decentralized communication platform. And the idea is that it's a network system that uses like communication protocols between the telephone providers or cellular providers that allow them to host RCS servers themselves that communicate over the internet to each other.
Okay.
And the whole point was Google wanted to pitch the protocol and pitch the application support and then completely go hands off and let Verizon and AT&T and Sprint and T-Mobile and whoever else come in and take care of it themselves.
And they all ran to it and said, sure.
They all ran to it and said, sure.
Yeah.
And then Sprint and T-Mobile were the only two that actually did anything about it. And Verizon and AT&T have been like, maybe, we'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Whatever, we'll just drag our feet on it. But their names have been on there. So Samsung has already integrated in with their texting app. Google, of course, already built it into Messages. Apple will seemingly never get on board with it unless, the rest of them suddenly jump on and they're going to have to. But Google, because the two major providers are still basically dragging their feet on it and don't want to set up the service because it doesn't really benefit them all that much, but it does benefit their customers. But, we all know how they feel about their customers. They hate them.
No. Why would you say that?
Surprise.
They love their customers.
Money.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
love
Not the
money.
same thing?
No.
Oh.
So anyway, Google finally just said, screw it, and set up their own servers.
Dun, dun, dun.
So they linked your phone number to just a space essentially on their RCS servers that allow you to communicate via rich communication services with anybody who currently owns a Samsung device and is on a carrier or has Google Messages and is on a carrier that supports it. Or if you're not, then you go through Google servers.
Okay.
So the problem here is, what incentive does Verizon and do Verizon and AT&T have now to finish this up if Google's already hosting it for them?
Correct.
Nothing.
Sprint and T-Mobile seem like the weird guys now because they've done it and nobody else is going to do it. So
Oh, Google.
it's great that it's out there. They should have just stuck with Allo
What a tangled web you weave.
because nobody wants to use RCS now because it doesn't have end-to-end encryption like every other communication platform.
Oh,
like Apple's
interesting.
iMessage, like WhatsApp, like Telegram. What's the point?
yeah.
So it's it's great to see that the rollout has happened, and
Okay.
it's cool to interact with other people who have RCS.
So is this rollout similar to the Stadia rollout? Zing!
It's getting better. No, but
You want that 2-month-old version of Borderlands 3? You got it.
Yep.
hey, we finally got our buddy passes. It's only been like 2 months, I think, or a month. But I'm interested to see where they go with this. If AT&T and Verizon finally jump on board, or if they just say screw it, we're not going to do it anymore. Because they did sort of jump on board with this open standard agreement to say we need to upgrade these services because basic analog systems just don't really cut it anymore. But they are good backups for this for old phones and old support just in case digital services go down. This, that, or the other.
So does this agreement have any sort of penalties for them not joining? Then it's too
It's
late, so it's
a-
not going to matter.
It's an open organization or
Yeah.
collaboration of multiple
Yeah.
companies. So phone providers have been on board. Huawei, ZTE, Samsung, Google, and the carriers have all been on board. But it doesn't matter.
I do agree that it's going to really depend on two things. One, are the cell phone providers going to try and push for this? Like they've already.
What incentive do they have now?
Well, I would argue that they've went through the hassle of making it happen. If they were to get rid of the ability to interpret SMS on their phone, then cell phone.
So that's the thing. They're not.
Yeah.
The whole point of RCS is that SMS will still continue to be the backup.
Then
If RCS fails, the messages will still send via SMS.
What if we tell them that? I was going to make a bunch of jokes about corporations killing the environment, but we could just say
It's
hey,
not a
this will-
joke, Brent. That's a problem.
They don't know.
SMS is killing trees.
No, we'll just tell them that if they do the RCS, they'll kill more trees. And they should be like, all right, we'll do it. Because that's how big
That's
corporations
cold.
work. That's how they work.
That's cold.
Elon Musk will just spend $1 million and plant a bunch more trees.
Hopefully. Elon Musk, I believe, is what his
No,
name
no,
is.
Elon Musk. No. He'll go through SpaceX and find out a launch pattern that allows him to take a satellite and launch trees down that plant themselves.
That sounds really
He
dangerous.
sounds like a giant shotgun of
He
seeds.
sounds like a supervillain, which we've all predicted he would become.
He does
Mother
look,
Nature is now in charge.
he does look like he would have a Shark Tank, and you don't want to be on the wrong end of that Shark
Exactly.
Tank.
Especially when you see certain things like he left like a party, an after party the other day
Yeah,
in the
knocks
truck.
a cone over
And-
the heathen. No, I'm kidding.
No, it wasn't a cone. It was like a road pylon thing that he knocked down.
I don't think it was concrete.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure it had just had a solid. It had a solid base, but I think
No,
it just
he
knocked
knocked off. What? fuck out of it.
I remember that because he did kind of peel out of the driveway.
Oh yeah, he just took off after.
What, he got pissed off about something?
I don't know.
No, he was in the Cybertruck. He was showing it off. A bunch of people taking pictures, recording video of it and whatnot, and he wanted to show off a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's been driving it all over Los Angeles, like showing it off. So,
Fortunately, he hasn't been shot yet because his windows don't work. Boom! Just kidding, Treeline. I love you. You cool guy. You have
Smoke
your
crack, though.
eccentricities, but I do like what you're doing for the most part.
we got good intentions, we think.
Yeah, I don't really know. I still think you're a super villain. One day,
In the making.
yeah. No, I think he's actually there. He's just waiting to execute his plan. Like one day, all of a sudden, it's MI6, the FBI, CIA, everyone's gonna be like, we can't do anything. And Treelon's going to appear at a big monitor. He's going to look like Dr.
Everyone owns electric cars made by Tesla.
There you go.
Suddenly, SpaceX is just putting out satellites to control them all.
Yep.
Well, I mean, he's creating SpaceX, and we're going to have the space military branch.
Well, the Space Force, yeah.
So Space Force.
Yeah, thank God that was signed into law.
Space Force.
I would rather have I wish they would have called it the X Force. That would have been awesome.
I don't know what the they're going to do. We're going to waste a ton of money doing it. But hey,
Yep.
more space travel is fine with me. Complete and utter segue. When's the last time you watched Silicon Valley?
I haven't seen the new season yet because I saw we're only on like episode
Nope,
2 or 3.
it's done. It's over.
Is it?
Yep.
Because I only saw episode 2 was posted on
There's
HBO now.
7 episodes total. That's it. Because I just watched it yesterday.
Okay.
I will wait then because
I'll
I was going to make a joke.
No, I'll have
Don't
to,
make a
I'll
joke.
have to,
That's very
I'll have
good.
to watch it.
I won't make it funny. We can move on now to the real news. Just kidding. Just kidding. RCS is very damn. Oh, we are going to talk about the large enough news that it takes 2 hosts topics up. The Game Awards. They happened this past Thursday. It took quite a bit of time to go through everything, so I'm going to pull up a nice little checklist. However,
If I recall, we had our second longest episode recording the VGAs last year.
I believe that's probably correct. We will not go that long this time around. However, there was quite a bit that happened there. And we will go back and forth, I'm assuming, to discuss these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's you bring up what you want to talk about, we'll talk about it because we pretty much love the same stuff.
The number one has to be. And we're going to talk about reveals first. Then
The
we'll go
Wolf
over,
Among Us 2.
in our eyes, probably. We're going to go over announcements and then we'll go over awards. But Wolf Among Us was a great surprise announcement.
That one literally got me screaming. I just couldn't wait to get on Paulo and be like, what just happened?
Between the tumultuous exit of Telltale, all these things they announced this game as they were going downhill, we have no clue what's going on. Then their possible revival, we're still not sure what this company and how they're working. There's still rumors that are only hiring employees on as contract workers.
A lot of shadows looming, saying that a lot of people are like, well, it's not going to be the original people, and it's like, yeah, they all moved on. They needed to feed their face. It had to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that are available that still need jobs, they've been offered the ability to come back and work on projects, but obviously it's under a contractual basis, so it's not like a full-time job.
Well, and some of them, I believe, are part of the game is being developed within their studio, and that studio is comprised mostly of Telltale Games ex-devs, from my understanding. I could be wrong there. I'll have to look it up.
I didn't see any numbers on it. There's just a lot of people that were still upset about it.
But Wolf Among Us 2 was announced. Now, this is great for a number of reasons. One, we talked previously about the fact that, hey, Telltale's coming back, but are they just a name only? What are they going to do here? Well, it seems like their goal is to start developing games ASAP.
Which is awesome because, this is actually technically the second time that it's been announced. It was originally announced
Correct.
in 2017 before the debacle at the end of 2017 to 18 before they got bought.
Reaffirmed, I think, is the best way to put
So then
it.
a bunch of questions started coming up and everything got left up in the air of what's
exactly.
going on.
Last episode we talked about how, I talked about how that was what was it?
It was the top news story for you.
Not top news story. It was the top news story.
Yeah.
How they came back and everything was, they finished out The Walking Dead, and now they're finishing out. This is another project that was started, and I think they're just trying to finish it.
Yeah.
They have stuff built up. We don't know how much they got done.
Correct.
There was no benchmark or anything that was given out. So they could literally be in the starting stages. But I'm hoping that they announcing it now means it's coming out next year.
We have no clue at this moment. My assumption would be that it's probably going to be, if it's next year, episode 1 would be late next year.
You think they're going to do it episodically like that?
I think so. We'll find out. I would prefer them.
Because the reason they did the episodic for Walking Dead is because they were continuing and finishing what was already started. With this could also just be a one hit.
Well, there's a number of reasons. So Telltale started years ago from ex-devs from other companies, early 2000s actually, believe it or not. And the reason why they went episodic is because it allowed them to continue to take in revenue while they're developing. Because they didn't have the big
big
blockbuster,
backup.
yeah, the backup in order to actually make money or hold their bank and develop. So this being a brand new company that's trying to take over that name, I don't know if for nostalgic purposes they leave it or
I think
maybe
they
it's
made
the
quite a
same.
bit of money off of The Walking Dead.
Well, Walking Dead technically went back to Skybound, so they made all the money back.
Yeah, that's true. They did buy that.
And even still, I mean, I would imagine there's probably quite a bit of loss having to recoup whatever the cost was for the well, no, because Skybound owned the license the entire time, and yeah,
They
So
just took
Telltale
control.
Games
of
as
it.
an organization is basically no longer at this point.
the original organization's gone.
Yeah. Right.
There's a new one in its place with its name right now.
Yeah, it's kind of
That
like
Skybound owns, or
THQ.
So Skybound is separate.
because I remember Skybound owns the IP.
They
but
own the IP of The Walking Dead, and they came back with their own developers as well as whoever could be available
Yeah.
from Telltale to finish the game. But I don't think Skybound's involved with them going
Anything
forward.
else,
This is
no.
going to be that new Telltale, which, again, makes it very interesting to see what they're doing. Seeing, again, I'll have to confirm it, but it appears that they are working with another studio. That makes me think that they're not so much concerned trying to start up their studio. They're trying to get started development-wise
Yep.
so they get money in, which
Yeah.
makes me think episodic would be the way they go.
Okay,
So,
fair
but we'll
enough.
see.
Fair enough.
That was not really the number one, but that was pretty high up on the list for us.
yeah, for us. Yeah.
Number one announcement of the night was Microsoft coming out swinging hard with the brand new Xbox
Series X.
Series X. Now, I want to talk about
Sex.
this name
Xbox Sex.
because, one, the actual name of the console is simply Xbox.
Yeah.
Series X is the model. There was no confirmation of this until today, which is Tuesday, which is nearly 5 days after the Game Awards.
No, my thing, it's like, so there has been an Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox One S. So it's always just been Xbox every time it's come out then?
No, because the Xbox One is a model. The Xbox One X is a model. Oh, I'm sorry.
the One S and the One X are just different models of the One.
of the One, which is a line.
Which
the
is-
360 is a line that has different models.
Yeah, there was the
So what was the
360,
original Xbox then?
original Xbox.
It was
So this
just
is-
it was just Xbox.
So this is actually technically the kin to Xbox.
It's Xbox. It's the same name as the original one.
And all I'm saying is it's getting a little incestual around here.
Of course, it's just like when people are like, "Hey, Xbox One. Now what do we call the original?" I guess OG Xbox
Well,
because you can't say the Xbox One.
I think they kind of wanted people to forget about the original console because it had some glaring problems to some extent.
Yeah, it was you could kill a
I
man
think it
with
was monster.
It was Microsoft's first entry. Well, let's give them some room here.
Hey man, that big green green giant green logo, like it
Blasting
stood
blasting
out.
X thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, if you swing that controller at anybody, you instantly murder them. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way they're surviving. It was a beast. But the Series X, the Series, right? Yeah, Series X.
Yes.
Is more akin to
The
like
Xbox.
Xbox, an Amazon Echo. Right? It's tall. It stands up. It looks a little bit like what you'd find in those smart speakers, except it's about 3 Xbox controllers tall and 1 in diameter.
laying flat, by the way, laying horizontal, like correctly as if you would hold the controller.
Yeah, because it is a rectangle. So 3 controllers up, and then on top it is 1 controller. You can put 1 controller on top of it, and that's the width of the console.
Which is a pretty smart design. I mean, heat rises, the vent's up top. It's going to be easy for it to cool down.
The vent has a cool green light when you
Yeah.
turn it on. It's like there. I'm like,
A lot of people are like, "Oh, lights." I'm like,
it
put
looks.
a barrier in front of it if you don't care enough.
It looks
mean,
like.
I mean, there'll probably be some software switch to turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a computer tower.
Yeah.
A very
Well,
small.
it looks like it looks like the old iMac Pro trash can.
Yes.
What is it? I think Asus made like a standalone
Uh-huh.
computer that's
Yeah.
quite literally like this or whatever. But it's got a lot of power packed into it, so Microsoft's going for the same thing, which makes sense because
Yeah.
they're obviously not going to accept discs in this one. So,
So they are.
They are. This
There
one
is a
has
disk
a
drive.
disk
Is
drive.
is it big enough
Yep.
for it?
Yep, it's right there on the side.
Now we don't.
Big enough to accept the disc.
Lockhart was the one that has not been released yet that we have seen. Is supposed to be the one that has less power, does not have a disk drive.
Yeah,
For
because it's
some
supposed to be
reason has less
streaming
power.
focused. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have not heard anything other than rumors. That is not officially announced yet at this point.
Didn't Spencer talk about it?
Nope.
Okay.
The only thing they've talked about right
Mistaken.
now, and the only thing they will continue to talk about, I guarantee until launch, is Series X. Because that's their focus.
I don't know why they would even bother with the other one, to be honest.
A year later, when people are like, "Oh my God, $500 was too much," then they can go, "Hey, we're selling one for $3."
Well, I mean, we saw the rumor come out that was debunked today about PlayStation 5 is coming out
$600,
$500.
all that other stuff.
So
Tell you
by
what,
the
they
way,
removed
that
disc
wasn't
drive,
true.
You can sell for $250.
Zing. It is an interesting design. They did also show off a brand new game.
Yes.
Hellblade 2, which is Senua's Saga.
Oh, and that video is
Oh.
just...
Oh,
Man, that
Okay.
thing got me rolling.
The only thing I could think of, though, whenever it started panning back to the chick's face,
oh yeah.
was the ritual song from Finding Nemo. Ah, ooh,
Oh,
wah,
wow.
dee, ah, oh, oh, oh.
Shark bait. Hoo-ha-ha. No, that was super.
But it was really good
I saw
looking, though.
between Senua Sacrifice and Senua Saga.
Uh-huh.
The comparison was insane.
Yeah.
Like it was so. When I first saw that water, I thought it was just like Disney level CGI graphic, and it's like no, that was rendered on the Xbox Series X.
And I honestly was also expecting that to turn into a Halo trailer. So the fact that they didn't come out with Halo, but they're doing something a little bit different, showcasing for one that Ninja Theory will continue to develop these independent games. I know a
Yep.
lot of people were worried about Bleeding Edge when they were announced that multiplayer game that comes out in March for them. But two, that they are very serious about the fact that this is not a Halo machine. This is not a Gears machine.
Yeah.
They're trying to prove that they have studios to back their content.
It actually made me more worried for Halo Infinite because if anything, that's always been the Xbox's
See,
ratchet.
but they're transitioning away from that. Gears 5's on Steam. Like what would be the point of them going back to the Xbox and saying these are the games we're releasing for this console?
Well, because they've been working on Halo Infinite and they've been kind of like touting it lately. Why wouldn't you at least want to tease it what it looks like on the Xbox Series X?
Considering the fact that they spent a total of maybe 8 minutes 10 with Phil talking, I think that this was a smart move for the reasons I stated previously. But also, you've got E3 coming up. You will 100% swing your
Next,
technology
I'll say
beam
Dong.
with nothing but Halo Infinite.
I was gonna say the VGAs are not exactly the place for big releases like that. Next month's definitely
The
going to be the
The
big
fact-
one.
fact that he came out and talked about it at all was
Yeah.
what blew me away.
my mind. I could not believe it.
Because that's the thing. Dylan had it on anyway on the TV downstairs while we were in the office, and I kept looking back or whatever, and I'd see VGA world premiere, and I'm like, who's releasing things at the VGAs? Like,
Yeah.
I get it's a big event and there's tons of people watching, but I never thought of the VGAs to be the place to release things because usually it's supposed to be about reflection on the year.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's always been a thing about having world premieres, console exclusives. I mean, that was the entire goal. I mean, it's still it's a money grab for advertising.
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. But I mean, like I thought a dedicated event for like what the year has been anyway, it would be.
Well, I think what's usually interesting is that there's always one or two big ones, but most of the reveals you see are similar to what we saw with Final Fantasy VII, which had a brand new trailer released there. And that is a showcase of like, hey, here's some new stuff. Batman Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham City, like these games did the same thing where it was like, hey, you already know this game's coming out, so here's another trailer so you get an idea.
Well, I saw the Final Fantasy VII trailer come up. I was like, Brent's losing his mind.
Oh
Right
my God. Ah!
So I kind
So
of have
excited.
an idea of where you're going to lean on this, but who do you think is going to come out with the price point first?
I think it's probably going to be Sony.
Whoa, not what I thought.
But it's
Damn.
hard to say. So again, I'm going off of the historical record of PS4 because I feel like that was an incredible way to launch a console, and it's very obvious with the sales they've made, right?
Yep.
That not only did it have super strong original sales, but it's continued to do it. Where they had an event in February, they talked about the console, they actually revealed the controller, and then talked about pricing there.
I'll say, wasn't it the big goof up of Microsoft calling it out first last year, and then Sony walked up on stage and said, and just the only thing they presented was who was that?
No, that was Sony. That was during the Sega Saturn years. So that was in the 90s.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right. It was that
where they
far
just
back.
walk up and
never
go.
mind. I don't know why. I thought that was last year.
Oh, I guess so
Or
good.
whatever it was.
It was $299.
Yeah.
No, what Sony did is they announced their console in February. Xbox waited until May, and then their event was a shit show. I mean, the amount of YouTube compilations of TV, Call of Duty, dog. It's hilarious because of how bad the reveal was.
Yeah.
Obviously, Xbox has learned their lesson. Like, this was a great...
Nobody wants a media center device.
Correct. This is a perfect tease. We showcase the power of it with a brand new game from a brand new developer they just bought.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think this was incredibly smart on their part, and I would love to see the counter from Sony and where this goes next year.
I totally agree with bringing up at least something from one of the devs that you bought because without that, everybody's going to be in wonder. But I'm still I guess like with E3 coming in, they are going to be a part of it. I'm assuming. But I think Xbox is going to be the first one to come out with the price point
It's possible.
because they're going to feel more pressured to. But that just gives Sony the edge to be like, oh, our price point was a little bit higher. Do you think we're going to be able to take the hit in order to sell the consoles? Like, what do you want to do?
It's going to be really interesting because with these new generation console, and we're completely sidetracked, but we have to talk about it, I do believe they're going to have to be more expensive. Like, I mean, the power they're talking about right now with these solid-state drives that are custom made.
That are competitive with PCs. High-end PCs.
I'm not talking about a crazy amount of money, but I would imagine instead of $400, you're paying $450 or $500 for
I
PS4.
could see $500 for the console.
PS5,
I really
yeah.
So
can.
they're talking about the speed in great lengths anyway, not necessarily in comparison to what PCs currently have. They're talking about it in comparison to what the current generation of consoles has.
So no,
Which-
there
which-
have been some comments, whether they're true or not, about the fact that the current console setup is as fast as a high-end PC today.
I'd be curious to know what they classify. Now, granted,
Yeah.
you're getting the specific specs of what kind of graphics card they're
Correct.
running. The processors themselves are really kind of irrelevant whenever it comes to gaming 90% of the time, depending on what game you're running. But if that's
Ghost of Tsushima.
if that's the price point that if their price point they're trying to go for is relatively low, then they're going to have to go with mid-range specs anyway.
Exactly.
Because right now, bleeding edge hardware right now, or actually, I'll say this the other way around. Mid-range hardware right now is easily 10 times better than the
PS4 and Xbox One.
current generation console hardware,
Yeah.
which was
Even their
which,
upgrades.
which was
The
mid-range
Pro
for the time. Yeah,
included?
Even the
Okay.
Pro, yeah. Even the Pro and the Xbox One X.
because the Pro refreshes actually didn't happen but a couple years ago. So I mean, like we've had leaps and bounds done, especially in graphical tech. Graphical tech's taken big steps in the last decade. Processor tech has gotten minutely better in the last 2 to 3
Which we
years.
talked about recently,
We've talked about with AMD and Intel. But over the last 10 years, it's taken leaps and bounds. But still, as far as what processors can do for gaming consoles, it's very little.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see what kind of hardware they're putting in there if they're talking about comparing it to high-end desktops. Because if they're talking about competing against my 2080 Super down there, which is I think I spent $550 or $600 on that graphics card. It's a lot of money for just one component.
I agree,
Yep.
which is why I'm very curious to actually see what they're capable of and what the price point is.
Good
As
thing you
opposed
make
to-
all that money.
As opposed to the 2060, the 2060, which is 2 steps down, or the 1660s,
Yeah.
which are a couple steps down anyway from the top spec. I mean, you're talking $300. If you get a bulk discount, you probably get them for $200, $250.
Yeah.
Which would mean a much more reasonable price for everything.
Agreed. And so we'll see. I am very curious myself. I still say Sony does it first, but you say Xbox, so we shall see.
Yeah. I wouldn't put a pizza bet on that, though.
No, not at all.
Oh no! Let's do a pizza bet.
Also, remember, John.
You two do a pizza bet.
Remember,
Yeah, and you
he
eat the
doesn't-
rewards.
he doesn't make that much money, but he inherited it from his wealthy grandfather.
Oh, yeah, that's
Moving
true.
on to the next announcement, right
Here we go.
afterwards, apparently, and I totally missed this and the next trailer, Godfall, which is the first official PS5 game confirmed.
Yeah. The trailer was cool. I don't know what it was rendered with.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately, we don't know too much about it other than what the trailer showed, which looks like it's going to be a looter slasher, is what the developer's saying.
Yeah.
So
Looter slasher.
So it's going to be like
Diablo?
I think it's going to be similar to something like Division,
Warframe?
where we get to play together. But yeah, Warframe is probably a better analog, where it's going to be mostly melee combat. The developers also came out today. There was I think it was GameIndustry.biz story where they discussed the new PS5 controller is what really makes this game feel good because of the new haptic feedback and the way the rumble works and the triggers. When you slash and it hits an opponent, you actually feel it. Feel it in the reverberation back.
Yeah, because the new one's supposed to be magnet based, not motor based.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is also really cool for the bow stuff too with the triggers, which I'm excited for when Horizon Zero
Yeah,
Dawn comes
yeah,
out.
that was very interesting. The brand new trigger thing that you can add to the bottom of your DualShock 4. Is that what you're talking about?
No. I'm talking
I'm
about the feedback on the
for the
triggers
bow,
for the new
bow.
PS5.
Got it, yeah.
But that's also something that I'm super surprised they did not announce at the VGAs, just as a little add-on, like, hey, check this out. And say
I think
it's a competition with Scuff.
They've already talked. Well, I mean, you're talking about as far as them advertising it at VGAs?
Yeah.
I think they've already talked about it. So what's the point in?
No, they didn't.
So they had announced it at that moment. For the audience to know, Sony came out today and has touted the fact that a DualShock 4 can add a new attachment. It's $30. You attach it to the bottom of the DualShock 4, and it gives you paddles on the back. So 2 new triggers that are completely customizable to whatever buttons you want.
With an OLED, with a OLED
It's an
screen
Xbox
attached
Pro
to it.
controller then.
Well,
Or it's a PlayStation Pro controller.
Yeah,
it's pretty much.
the SCUF controller. It's the same thing. What I do think is cool is that this allows anybody who doesn't have $200 to drop on those controllers, which
Yeah.
is what they usually are.
Because
You
SCUF
can
is a lot
spend-
more customizable with how the triggers are,
Yeah.
and like you can get different like sticks.
You can simply customize
But
this to
it's-
help you out.
I'm assuming Scuff makes it then.
No,
for
this,
Sony.
this is. I don't think
As
so.
far as
so
it-
so the
this is a
Xbox
Sony-made
Elite
thing.
2
yeah,
is made by Scuff.
SCUF. I agree.
But it has Xbox logoing on it.
I don't think this is the case.
I didn't
but I
see
could be wrong.
any SCUF logoing on this.
But it's probably got the same magnetic release stuff, and
So-
which is why I would think it's made by Scuff.
Normally, PlayStation blog, which is where I got the story from, you can find it in our description above me, floating miraculously
Below.
like Rudolph's wonderful bright nose. They normally mention when it's like, because SCUF has made a PS4 Pro controller, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not branded SCUF. That is not the case here. There's nothing mentioning SCUF whatsoever in this. So I think this was internal Sony
Well,
Studios.
no, that's the thing. Microsoft never mentioned anything about Scuff making it either.
Yeah, but PlayStation with their specific controller
Yeah.
did. For this peripheral, there's nothing about SCUF.
it
on
adds directly to the controller.
Yeah.
So it's not like an actual
To an existing controller.
Yeah, it sucks that it's $30 because I feel like it's a bit much, but it also is a
half
nice.
of a controller.
It's a nice piece of technology that can help people who have
Right.
disabilities or want that added bit of buttons. I think it's kind of cool.
A lot of people like it for FPS.
Yep, I think it's also
Yeah,
really
I-
cool is that it just offers an option for people to add to it.
I enjoyed it because it's basically a panic button. You know, like,
Yep.
if I'm playing COD or something like that and somebody jumps into my face, I need a melee. So I'm going to grip and it's just going to melee for me. And that's going to be it.
But I think the reason why they didn't advertise is because this is arguably a half measure compared to something like what Microsoft has done, the adaptive controller, whereas that's what you advertise. Like, this is cool. I think it's great. The VGAs is not where you advertise that. You do a PlayStation blog post and everybody talks about it on Twitter all day.
E3.
I mean, maybe E3, but I would say like what they did today.
They're not
I
going to
think
be at
was
E3,
perfect.
so
Oh, that's fair.
We don't know yet, actually. The next trailer I also missed, which
why would
was
they go back on that?
they didn't say they wouldn't be at E3 this year. Only last year.
I thought they said they were just done with E3.
No, they specifically said they would not be at E3 2019.
I figured.
Okay.
It might be a trial.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
The next game is Bravely Default 2. I'm so excited about this game. It's coming to Switch. It is made by the same people who made the original games and published by the people who made Octopath Traveler. So I was super upset that I missed the trailer, and you pointed it out, and I was like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's my card keys with the bottle opener because we're alcoholics. The next game would be Weird West. I actually thought it was kind of a cool trailer, but not really a whole lot to talk
Yeah.
about, I don't think. And then, of course, two new League of Legends spin-offs. One called The Ruined King, a League of Legends story, and the other one, I cannot remember.
It's a pirate one, right?
Oh, platformer called Convergence.
Oh, yeah, that one.
So the fact that we've talked about this before, how Riot is trying to turn, whereas Blizzard has all these different franchises and they kind of cross-pollinate between them, but they keep them in their lanes.
Right.
It sounds like Riot is trying to take these characters that they've built over literal decade now
Yeah.
and trying to build stuff outside of just the League of Legends area for people to play.
And this is the first build, like League of Legends for PlayStation 4, right?
Yeah, these
Yeah.
games will come out for the current gen consoles
So
as
that-
well as PC.
That's the first time we've seen
Well-
anything League of Legends come to a console, right?
Consoles and PC, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just League of Legends theme technically for
Yeah,
the
I know,
game,
but
so.
it's
Franchise-wise, it would
yeah.
be now under that umbrella, right?
They're
Yeah.
definitely expanding their
they're
horizons.
they're
for,
trying to become Blizzard, is what they're
yeah,
doing to some
but
extent.
but
They're
with a
trying to-
different approach.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I'm super interested to see what they do with this because a lot of people are into like our own resident Tumbleweed TV. He is extremely into some of the lore behind characters as
Yep.
well. Like I know he reads a lot of that for the new characters that come out. So for him to explore maybe other stories that could come behind them or expansions of the characters and use of them would be kind of neat.
Well, not only that, get people like, us here who don't particularly enjoy that type of gameplay. Like, I thought it was fine. We've have some footage of us playing. But overall, it's not something I really want to go spend time with.
Right.
But you give me a platformer with some cool characters and it's a 3D mascot platformer, hell yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm in. Give me a shooter. Give me, like, I would love to explore that world. Because you're right,
Yep.
the lore is fascinating.
Yeah,
And
and it's deep.
Yep.
the characters are incredibly popular. They're cosplayed all over the place. Like, so I think it's very interesting, and I love this kind of competition because Activision Blizzard has gotten stagnant. They have gotten super stagnant,
Yep.
and the only real people who can compete with them are someone on Riot's level. So
Yeah, and the disappointing part for Blizzard fans and for gamers who enjoyed this game in particular, such as myself and Tumbleweed,
yeah.
Heroes of the Storm disappeared. So There's just no support for it anymore, which is sad because seeing a lot of the other characters that you've played with on other Blizzard games would be
It's
wonderful.
really cool.
But,
Yeah, I agree. I concur. And also, not just League of Legends, but also some D&D games were announced. Dark Alliance is the spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which is a very popular game. I'm very curious to see where this goes. According to the, I don't know if they're the founders or there's so D&D is Wizards of the Coast. They own them. And then there is a whole subsection that is devoted to development of D&D things, including games. And they say they have 7 D&D games in the works. So that's a lot of D&D.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm very curious to see where they go. But Baldur's Gate is incredibly iconic.
Yeah.
So seeing more come to that. Players Unknown released a trailer for Prologue. And this
I
was
actually missed this one because my stream kept crashing.
You didn't miss
Twitch.
much. It was a look in a forest. And
Oh,
it was
yeah?
like
All right, cool.
Prologue. So we'll find out what that is, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool. Ori and the Will of the Wisps got a release date for March 11th, which is
Yep.
great. Controls, the Foundation expansion, has a March 26th release date. Gears Tactics, April 28th. And then a wonderful, amazing teaser for Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah.
for summer 2020. So we don't have a release date yet for that. I think that's very smart on Sony's part, considering the fact that
There's
Last of
a lot
Us
of
literally
things that
gave
are
a
gonna be
date and then
moved.
they delayed it 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I am guessing August. I'm still standing by that. I think that Control released this past August. It's right before the slate of big games. It gives enough PS4 players time to play that game before November comes around when you buy that PS5. I think it'd be a really smart release date. Plus, with Last of Us releasing in May, you don't want something to step on its toes directly too
Yeah.
quickly. So at the very earliest, I imagine July, but my guess is August.
I mean, the trailer was pretty hot, but at the same time, I was hoping to see something a little bit more. I mean, we got that teaser from the State of Play, and then they gave us a little bit more, which was actually pretty substantial compared to what I thought we were going to get.
It was super quick. As the problem was 2.5 minutes, and what they showed was all out of context. But it looks like this massive open world that you get to explore, this giant Japanese island. The developer said that they're not doing, they're doing as limited a UI as possible. So they're not going to have map overlays. They're not going to have icons on the screen. If you want to find something, you're going to have to pay attention. And
It looks like
learn.
Metal Gear Solid for feudal Japan.
And I call Tenchu is the name of the franchise, and I can't fucking wait. Oh, I'm so excited.
It looks like it's going to be beautiful too. So.
Well, I'll put it this
was
way.
that the falling leaf simulator that we watched?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will put it this way. Sucker Punch did a phenomenal job with Sly Cooper franchise. I love them.
I've never seen him have a bad game,
Yeah.
at this point in time, I wouldn't bet against it.
They've done a phenomenal job with Infamous, and this is their new passion project. That's the way they touted this. They touted this as we love the Infamous universe, but we want to do this.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are focusing on this,
They are one step below Naughty Dog in my level of confidence.
yeah,
Naughty Dog's pretty high up.
yeah. So I'm very excited to see what they do there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, a ton of trailers. As we talked about, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Humankind, which is, I believe, the new game from the founders of Assassin's Creed, the original developer. I could be completely wrong.
The original developer?
Yeah, the original gentleman, who was the producer, came up with the
Sorry.
idea, all of that. Yeah. Not Ubisoft.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's always been Ubisoft.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Rise of the Phoenix expansion, Magic Legends, which was actually a really cool trailer, and I was just kind of at the end, I was like, whatever. Maneater, which is the shark sim that looks
Actually looks
so
kind of
good.
cool. That looked like a fun game night thing.
Dude, I'm so down for that. So that's the thing. I started watching the preview for that, and Dylan's what is that? I said, I'm so down. I have Goat Simulator and Untitled Goose Game. This just adds to it.
Now I get to be a shark.
Next level.
I just bought Untitled Goose Game. I'm so excited.
Oh, dude, it's great.
It looks like it's going to be. It kind of reminds me of that paint game a little bit.
Unfinished one,
It
yeah.
has that same kind of innocence feel to it, but
Yes.
it's still goofy fun.
Oh man,
That's the point.
The Muppet skit in the Game Awards. If you have not seen the Game Awards, which is what we're recapping here, you should 100% go to YouTube after this and find the Muppet Goose Game skit because it was so good.
Yeah.
Easily one of the highlights of the show. A new shooter 9 to 5, which looked funny from the trailer perspective.
Yeah, that was a really good pump fake.
Yeah, but I want to see where that goes.
Definitely recommend you watching that one too, because you're going to be like, what is going, okay.
And in our description, I do have a link to Kotaku's article, which is what I'm kind of skimming off of right now. Has a ton of trailers in it that will help you. No More Heroes 3, which is the exact opposite of that, which was a terrible pump fake. I don't know what the beginning of that trailer was, but the end of that, I was like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. Brand new Apex Legends Holiday Bash, Son of the Forest, which looks like a sequel to The Forest, which was a creepy game. Surgeon Simulator 2, so excited. Wolf Among Us 2, of course.
The Surgeon Simulator game it was just so hard to play.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the point.
I know, but it was just like ungodly ridiculous.
It's like Octodad. But
yeah, it was.
I think and of course, Fast and Furious Crossroads.
Which I'm like, man, you see the graphical fidelity on that was awful.
But the fact that we had Vin Diesel on stage and
he couldn't even talk. He was just so excited.
He just made me laugh. He was just like, I'm so excited, Michelle. We're with our people, gamers. And I was like, did you think that was going to win the crowd over?
Yeah.
Like, is that your moment?
I was talking to Kepley about it, and Kepley said, yeah, it was basically like an internal joke going on between the two of them for a solid 3 minutes. He said, and the rest of the crowd and the rest of the world was basically like, I'm awkward. I don't know what to do. This isn't funny. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's like he talked about seeing the trailer for the new Fast and Furious 9 movie.
Yep.
And she's like, "What? I didn't get to see that." It's just kind of like it was just one of those. Really
having some terrible banter on stage.
It was pretty bad. Bad.
I find it interesting that
were they just in town? And they're like, "Dude, just come on over. I don't care."
I find it interesting that they're sort of reviving the idea of a fast game.
Yes.
Because the original one was supposed to be based on Too Fast, Too Furious, which was the last actual one that they had. Okay, I take that back. Tokyo Drift was the last actual one that they had based on cars.
That's because the entire franchise has been based on family, which is why I was surprised they didn't announce the game during the Family Game Awards section. I was waiting for that.
Jesus.
No, it was really bad. It was a terrible ending, and they announced the Game of the Year. So now we can segue ourselves into awards section here. And the Game of the Year won only one award.
Yeah.
Which was Game of the Year. And that was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
No one saw that coming.
So
I mean, I'm sure someone may have voted for that
I don't know a whole lot about Sekiro.
So it's made from Software, the same developers behind the Souls games and Bloodborne.
Yep.
And so there's been a lot of speculation.
Our good old boy B Scotch and Dots loves to stream this stuff.
Correct. And was very excited about this announcement. We were actually talking to him when it was made.
Yeah, well, while it happened, and he was just like,
I wonder if I could download some of that video, because that would be great to clip in.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do and talk to our tech wizard here.
Well, someone could film it while we were going through it on the Polo.
That's true, too. It would be terrible fidelity, but
yeah,
anyways,
but I get the point.
Regardless,
I definitely just did that. Had a brain fart.
I think he did a purpose.
For those who can't see, he's been tearing.
No, I'm gonna still drink it.
For those who can't see, for some reason he's been tearing off the label on his beer, and he just accidentally chucked it. He accidentally chucked it into his own beer instead of the empty beer bottle.
I kept flapping around, and I'm like, just get off my beer. Started OCDing on it.
So, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I have not played this game this year. I don't think any of us at the table has. So
I watched B. Scott and Dodge play quite a good bit of it.
Correct. But we did not physically play the game, which is important to note because we have not had hands-on time with this game.
Correct.
However, I personally believe that while this game has its own merits, I believe this is mostly for the fact that Bloodborne was snubbed for Game of the Year. And so a lot of people wanted to give From Software or something like this. And this year was incredibly divisive.
The thing is, it really was. Mainly for me because I didn't want to vote on anything. Even doing our little voting thing.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I don't even know what to do with this because I haven't played hardly any of these.
Yeah.
Like, just take me out.
I had played some of them, but I think there was one category where it's like, I know this game, so I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I feel like that's cheap. That's not fair. That's not giving it credence for what it is. And so, like, when I saw that, I almost like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I was like, that is a good game. I watched it play. It looked good, and I feel like it was a game that we could actually play. Like, it didn't feel too soulsy that I felt like I was going to lose my mind, but it was going to have a very strong difficulty bar, especially based on how you play. The only thing is, like, I looked at a lot of the pretty much. I looked at a lot of the other choices, and the ones that would normally take those spots, even ones that have won plenty of awards or, would have been at least close within the range of getting those awards. I'm having a hard time seeing how they got there over the other games, such as Outer
Outer Worlds.
Worlds.
So
God.
so for the
Always
game
wanna say
of the
Wilds.
year, they had Outer Worlds, Ghost. You gotta be doing it now. Sakura, Shadows Die Twice, Death Stranding, Control, and there's one more. I can't remember the last one. The last one was definitely the one where I was like, that'll never
Disco
make it.
Elysium?
No. That won a lot of awards, though. It
4.
won 4 awards. It won the most awards of the night, which is great because it looks phenomenal. I don't know. Did I describe this last time? It's an isometric RPG, so it's like old school Diablo, except there's no combat. You play as a police detective, and all of your decisions shape your character and how the world views you. So you have to be very careful. So like,
What was this game again?
it's Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium.
Currently only on PC. And when they won,
Isn't it like what game is it? Hotline? No.
no, not like that.
What is it? There's a 2D platform that's like that. You're a street cop, literally walking back and forth on the. I don't know.
All right.
No.
All I know is that when they went up and accepted the award because they won Best RPG and like three other
I
awards.
think they won like a soundtrack one. or-
No, because sound went to Death Stranding.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
They went up there and thanked Karl Marx and one other socialist. I was like, huh, interesting. That's fascinating.
Okay.
But anyways, so Game of the Year, I expected Control to win. Mostly because, again, Death Stranding's incredibly divisive. There's no way it was going to win. There are a ton, despite the fan outreach, like in the crowd, which fascinated me, every time Death Stranding was nominated for something, that was the loudest like I heard.
I think it's one of those instances where the people, for some reason, who disliked it just seemed louder to us than the people that did like it, because the people that did like it didn't feel like they needed to defend it.
Well, in
a lot of ways.
And critically, it sits at an 83 currently on Metacritic, so it's fairly high. But if you look at the reviews, there's a lot of mixed reviews there.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I understand where they're all coming
Mm-hmm.
from, and that's where, like, to me, where I was like, I still felt like it probably had a good chance at winning, mainly because of the Kojima bump.
I do agree.
The
there's a
Norman
Kojima
Reedus bump.
Yep.
Mads Mikkelsen bump.
Yeah, I mean, there was
I was gonna say, how many A-list actors or A and B-list actors do they have on this?
at least.
One,
was like-
2, 3, 4
yeah.
like majorly well-known actors,
Yeah.
and then a couple others that are pretty good, but not like
Yeah.
And a
I
ton
mean,
of people.
Control and Outer Worlds. I thought
Outer Worlds,
would have had it well over Shadows Die Twice.
So Outer Worlds, I thought was too much. The big thing people said, and again, the only game I played here is Death Stranding, so I need to point that out. They said it's like Fallout, but good. I'm like, cool. So your comparison is it's a franchise that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's all I heard. So I didn't think it was going to win. Control surprised me because of how many Game of the Year awards it had been picking up from outlets. Like it picked up IGN's, it picked up a couple others. And I have heard mad things from our friend Creston over at Ghost Eye Games.
And it's one of the ones that we
wanna
missed-
play.
We want to play
Yeah.
that we missed out on, and it looks good, and everybody said it felt good, that it was really weird but cool at the same time. It was just something that was primed to win something like a
Yeah.
Game of the Year award.
It won a couple of awards too. It wasn't just I think it won best action adventure game or something. No, that was Death Stranding too. I don't know. It won something. All I know is that Devil May Cry 5 won best action game. I was so excited about that. DMC won that again. Death Stranding won 3 awards. They won soundtrack, best actor went to Mads Mikkelsen,
Yeah,
and they won best best game direction.
sucks that Bad Mickelson couldn't be there.
It does suck. However, he is a famous actor and has plenty of busy things to do. But Norman Reedus was there to deliver some rewards. Which is
Honestly,
great.
he looks so out of place there.
He looked out of place, but also like that's Norman Reedus. Like I don't.
He doesn't like the spotlight
Okay,
like that.
Because
It's weird.
I was having the
being an
conversation
actor.
with Dylan about this earlier. Is he a gamer? Or Kepley about this? Is he
I don't
actually a gamer?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because he looked weirdly out of place there. Like, I'd see Ninja pop up on screen, or other streamers, pop up on screen every now and then if they were panning cameras across the crowd.
Yeah.
But then, they panned to Norman Reedus like twice or whatever, and he was just
So
here's stoic face, just straight ahead. Just
here's the other weird thing is like Kojima surrounded himself with his cohort. So Norman Reedus sat with Kojima. He sat with the actress who played the original Wonder Woman in the TV show, who was also in the game. I cannot remember her name right now. I apologize. And she plays 2 characters that are prominent in that game. Tommy Earl Jones, I think, was next to him. And then the woman from Churches, which was the opening performance to the show,
Yeah.
where she started bleeding like the same tar thing,
Yeah.
which was actually really cool from someone who's played the
Yeah.
game. And I can only imagine how many people are like, "What the f- is going on?"
It just came out of left field, and you were just like, Well, I didn't expect that.
It was
Cool,
it was a great performance for me and my wife because we both beat the game and like listening to the song and watching the band perform and then seeing some like the visual.
Which was
aspect.
another reason why I thought Death Stranding was possibly going to go away with it too, is because it was just seemed like it was starting to be themed for a Death Stranding win.
Well, considering how split everything else was, I'm actually not terribly surprised. Screw that, Cap. That Sekiro won. I'm glad it won because I think From Software deserves a lot of accolades for what they do very well, which is tight game systems. I really enjoy their systems, even if they're not games for me.
Yeah.
But other than that,
John, you put that bottle cap in the wrong beer dog.
I don't think there's too much more to talk about. There are plenty of awards, but we really don't want to go through every single one of them. It was mostly the announcements and, of course, the Game of the Year winner. Please let us know what you thought of the Game Awards. I personally think this is probably the best year they've had in quite some time.
A lot of people really wanted to give the VGA some shit, and I don't understand why, to be honest, because, I mean, the production was really well done. The guest singers were really well done, even though you could tell Green Day wasn't actually singing because he messed up, and they tried to pan away really quick, and I was like, it's too late. But even the kind of like the advertisements didn't bother me.
No,
they were all relevant to who we are.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, it was just a job. I'm like, yeah. They have to earn money doing this too. Like, this is still a business thing, but we want it to happen, and no one has the money just to freaking blow a load on a VGA and not be able to make anything bad.
Not only that, like you're saying, the ads were like not just relevant, but newer ads. Like in the past, they've had some terrible ads.
The Stadia ads were awful.
The Stadia ads were awful.
Wow.
Okay. I
Talk
will
about
say
disassociated.
They were cringy.
Yeah.
But for what the service is, like they did an okay job of describing what the service is, but they were very cringy.
There was one ad that talked about like you don't need set-top boxes, you get this 4K stuff, and all I could think of was like, really, we have a video to prove our gameplay experience on this channel. But I think the other thing too is like in the past they had like Hydro Chic Man, where it was like a mascot dressed up in an eraser. Like no, this year was incredibly well done.
Yeah.
The hostess who did the
it didn't feel cheap.
No, it felt really well produced, really well planned. The hostess who did the pre-show killed it. She's also the host of the Daily Fix on IGN. I cannot remember her name off the top of my head to save my life.
The one criticism that I really do agree with though was the awards that there were just awards that were just shuffled off with the people that Disco Elysium. They won this and this and this award and just like pushed it off. I'm like,
it's one of those things.
That's, I guess, okay. So I understand the lumping together kind of, but like, why is this award even being like mentioned if it's not worth being delivered?
Well, I think it depends on how they do it, right? So when Disco Elysium won, that's also when they're like, hey, I can't remember what award they won, but they're like, hey, they also won Best RPG. And I thought that was well done. It was very smooth. Like, cool, they get their one speech.
Done
they
well.
Get to come up.
But again, like, if it's worth giving them an award for it, then it should be worth presenting the award.
I think it depends on
and granted, I mean, it was a 3.5 hour show already.
There's a timing aspect to it.
And people complain on past awards being 4.5 hours. It just seems like someone always has something to bitch about.
Of course,
things.
it's an event. That's what
But
people do.
I do agree with the fact that, like, okay, like if you have an award, present it. If you have a time constraint, present the award in a different way, which I guess that works.
Well,
because you don't want to ignore it, but at the same time, you also have the option of just not doing that award.
I think there are other issues where, like, because I actually think what they did there was fine. My bigger complaint came from, like, they did esports announcer team and
in the pre-show.
In the pre-show.
Yeah, and it was like back at the back.
And it was literally like what you're talking about, where it was like, and they won this, they won this, they won this.
Which really sucks because in an event like this, that could really give some credence to esports, which people are dying for, getting out there, getting the publicity, getting people to know about what it is. You had an audience of how many millions of people watching this between YouTube and Twitch and other services?
I think the average was 2.5 or 2.8 or something like that.
Yeah.
The peak was like 4.2.
That's a lot of people to get to, like, right off the bat. You're watching the show. What are esports? Let me look it up.
And I would rather them do those awards that are completely separate, that don't have a tag along separate, if that means that the other, like Disco Elysium, has to do all their awards in one section. That's fine with me. But let's give
or
credence
even at the
where it
same
needs to
time,
be.
like pre-film it. If you don't want to do like a whole like going up stage thing, be like, hey guys, congratulations, how do you feel? Oh yeah, this is awesome, blah 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 blah. Done. Cool. So you get it down to 15, 20-second intervals. You still like gave the award. I would have felt better about that.
See, I feel like the issue isn't the fact that they don't have enough time to film it. It's that they don't have time in general to show it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They could control what they're showing, so that way it's not taking up too much time. Because to give some of those awards away would have taken like in a pre-show. Like this is the pre-show. Like this is going to be done up and beforehand. Everything else, so it's not taking up any time during the actual show. You can choose to watch it or not. It's just for those who are waiting to watch. Because I mean, most people are sitting there 10, 15 minutes beforehand, waiting for the show to start.
But even the pre-show had brand new announcements and trailers and stuff that we didn't even touch on.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
So-
There was a lot of info going on, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
but
'cause
I mean, it was there for you if you wanted to see it.
I'll be honest, I got kind of confused too because at first or whatever, like until I saw the little counter going on in the top
Yeah.
right hand corner, I was like, why are they handing out awards? And why is she doing it like on the side of the stage facing across the crowd? And then it said pre-show. I was like, oh.
And they've done this now, the pre-show award giving, I think this is the third year they've done that, which I do think is smart. But again, I hate that it punishes people who are insignificant.
You're not a part of the
or
show,
not as
actually,
big.
is what it kind of felt like. And it was just like,
Well,
Because they've done it-
I get maybe them handing out awards that are not like big title awards essentially that
Yeah.
are like out there. Like to me, esports is one of those that should be a big title award because esports has
At
been a
least one of those
booming industry.
One of
Yeah, oh,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Like if you really don't want to do the best esports announcer that way, fine. But let's have the best esports team. Like you want to show credence.
you
to
had
this industry.
Ninja there.
Yeah.
For God's sake. I mean, a
Content
streamer.
creator,
I'm
yeah.
sure he would. I don't know if he played competitively or not.
He did.
Yeah.
he did
So
play.
he would have been
He-
perfect for that announcement.
it was Ninja and Marshmallow
Yeah.
that competed for Fortnite.
Is Marshmallow the same one
Marshmallow,
that does the
artist.
music?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? I
Wait.
love his music.
But
Well-
Ninja competed in Halo before Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I remember hearing that. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot that can be reworked. I do think that this was a great, very tightly wound show. And your
Oh, it was
criticism-
orchestrated well.
Yeah, your criticisms are completely warranted. I agree with most of them.
It's
It's just I don't know I don't have a solution. to
Yeah, I
that.
agree. Like it's just like you could try doing it this way or not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying how they did it was even bad.
Yeah.
It was streamlined. Everything flowed. So I really can't even argue.
I mean, the way that they did it was based on the planning, and the problem is the way that you plan something isn't always the way that it gets executed. So,
Yeah.
or the way that it appears when it gets executed. Like they may have viewed those things because that was the opinion of like a board or something
Did
like that.
anybody
that
else
said-
feel like Ninja looks so bored being
Actually,
there?
I thought like every time I saw Ninja like pan across camera anyway, he seemed like he was super interested in what was going on. But I mean, maybe that was just my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I just felt like for like when he gave away that one.
but see,
award,
that's
it
how I
was
felt
just
about Norman
like,
Reedus. Like
Yeah. Well, Norman Reedus, he's always just got that like serious look on him, like from the Boondock Saints days. Like, he's like, I'm ready to beat your ass, like kind of thing. You know what I
it
mean?
always looks like he's subtly hammered.
He probably
ready
is
to
like,
kick
I'm a little.
someone's ass.
We were partying beforehand, so you know, I'm a little toasty.
As I tried to end this segment 5 minutes earlier, please let us know what the Game Awards and what you thought about them, the nominations, who won.
Yeah.
Please, and of course, all the announcements. We would love to have a conversation in the comments. Floating to the right of Elf on the Shelf.
Below.
Where's the right? Above me. That's
Below.
right. That's how this works. And it's time for Last Call.
Last call.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, we have our normal shout-outs, and this is the last episode of 2019. Tier. Going,
But-
of course, to our wonderful special guest.
We are gonna do a playcast, right?
We'll talk after the show because you were confused as to what we can do.
Okay.
Great Lakes Brewing Company does every year a Christmas ale around this time of year. I was actually explaining to the boys here on the show. If
Are they
you
paying us?
in
Wait,
no, but
wasn't
I
this
love
one
it.
you freaked out about in Total Wine?
100%?
Yes.
Yes. It's also what we drank last Christmas episode.
And he
When we
makes me
drink it next
drink
Christmas
it
episode,
every year. and
you
he
better believe it.
ambushed me to drink it again this year.
So, if you are in Ohio and they have this on tap, you should go to that bartender and ask them to pour you one because they will actually dip the glass in a little bit of cinnamon sugar and then pour the beer, and it tastes even better.
And then take that beer and throw it on the ground.
Because it has, as it says on here, the description, do not open until Christmas. Whoever coined that phrase obviously hasn't tasted Christmas ale's fresh honey, cinnamon, and ginger flavors.
Pander.
Anyways,
And-
moving on from our special guest, we have to talk about, of course, our boy Tumbleweed. I had Rudolph, we'll call him,
Bellboy.
who is currently the bellboy,
Bellboy.
working on his run through Pokemon Shield. I believe I traded him his Galarian Farfetch, so he might have a Surfetch.
I have
by
a
now.
Galarian Ponyta now. I got it traded from Japan.
We'll talk after the show because I don't need it anymore.
Okay.
And you should check him out. We have the
I'm gonna
YouTube
delete it.
link below.
Screw you, John.
You should. You can
Put
get a
it down
shiny
like a-
off of it.
Rabid dog.
Jesus. Of course, we also have our
got
podcast.
dark
Our
real
streamer
fast.
of the month is Xphobia. Last time I checked his Twitch account, he was checking out a little bit of Paladins and Realm Royale. So please make sure you check him out. He is constantly on.
Yep.
I am not joking when I say if you were on Twitch right now, he's probably on streaming something.
He's on a lot.
He's on a lot. And then, of course, we have our Discord and our RSS feed. If you don't want to see our beautiful, masculine, burly faces, I realize you shave. That makes me sad.
I know.
You can also
Alex don't
listen
have
to
facial
us
hair.
Someone's gonna anchor this podcast, you know.
from afar. And by far, I mean by an RSS feed on podcast services around the very world. I changed it. You like that? It was called copyright infringement. And then, of course, we do have our question of the week. Our question of the week is very simple. What are you guys excited for in 2020? I can go first.
The PS5.
PS5. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. That's one of my exciting things.
I'm
for
actually really excited to see the new games for all the new consoles.
Yeah.
I really want to see what Xbox has in store with its new devs, including Ninja Theory, who are near and dear to my heart. Enslaved is one of my top games of all time, based on narrative. And I'm excited to see what PlayStation does. And I'm really just kind of intrigued to see like the little fight they got going on, up into the air to see this, what this little Rem Royale of consoles is going to be.
Okay. You got hiccups?
I am dying over here.
Oh my God.
Since Brent's, rudely playing on his phone, and I'm gonna
I
jump
have
in there.
people
again.
talking to me about
So-
Vita memory cards that they need, and you better believe I have an extra they can borrow.
Yeah, because
I am excited.
Sony doesn't sell them anymore.
That's not true.
Because it's a dead
They're on
console.
sale all the time on Amazon.
Guess what? There's a game being made for Vita, and it's coming out in 2020.
It's still a dead console.
Mic drop. I will talk first. No, go ahead.
So my excitement, anyway, from the hardware or the tech aspect of things, has got to be the processing hardware that's coming in the next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at 7 nanometers now. Theoretical limit is 4 nanometers. And there's not quite been talks about it yet, but the idea would be that the next step would be 4 nanometers.
We're not talking about penis size, Mark.
Don't worry, he's got the money to get a penis enlargement done.
From the inheritance.
I walked into that one.
No, that is exciting.
So no, I'm super excited because we're gonna hit finally. I'm excited to maybe hit the theoretical limit this coming year or the next year, which means that we have to finally move on to other materials, and we will get away from silicon.
Correct.
Completely. So
Silicon based is the best.
I say
Currently.
we use microbes. I don't know how, but I say that's what we use.
sure.
Yeah.
That and I'm
Living
excited
organisms just transferring electrons.
Big
and
brain moment.
From a big data perspective, I'm super excited for quantum computing because that's really taken off this year.
Okay.
So next year, it's looking up because there's been some big purchases happening from quantum computing companies with some other big name companies going on right now. So quantum computing, as far as cloud services, is definitely on the way.
So is it going to be like Schrodinger's computer where you're not sure if there's a motherboard in there until you open the case?
Kind of. Actually. Okay. So legit.
It's more like string theory.
The problem is that I want to jump in with a. I know you're making a joke, but I want to jump in with the scientific thing of that's kind of how quantum computing works. It is both yes and no at the same time.
Big brain moment number 2.
Until you see the data, it's both yes and no.
I am personally excited for a couple of things. One, from a tech aspect, of course, PlayStation 5, along with the Xbox Series X and whatever else they reveal this year. I also want to see what Switch does to compete. Like
Yeah.
Nintendo has always been downplayed. It is very apparent from the ports they're getting this year that they are still
They were strong this year.
great games. But I mean, if you look at like The Witcher 3 compared to PS4,
Yeah.
Xbox,
Yep.
like they're far and away behind.
If you were to play Witcher on the freaking Nintendo for graphic fidelity, you're already fucked up.
That's like the one place I would play it on. So I do believe that they do have a nice strategy because they do plenty of exclusives, but I would love to see what they have going on. From a personal perspective, there's a lot of things I've been wanting to do. One, my wife and I are trying to buy a house, so I'm very excited for that in 2020. That's a big deal for me, along with a couple of travels that we're doing. But the other thing is that I have like all these ideas running through my head, and I've talked about it before in the show of like, I might try like a project or something. I really do want to try and sit down and stick myself on a project because I work in computer programming, and while work is fine, it's not necessarily as fulfilling in that regard. And I would really like to develop something. And I have an idea for an interesting little game. I think the scope is small enough that I could probably work on it mostly by myself. And as a matter of fact, next week I'm going to start prototyping it. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. Actually, from a personal perspective, having a project, that kind of thing that I could complete, which I believe I said last year, but
yeah, it's we're repeating the same thing.
No, but it would be nice like that. Like I've been wanting to pick back up on my personal development and step in on that. So
yeah.
I've already picked up on some neat, interesting projects that are not development related, but are technical related. But development definitely is something I would like to step back into and start branching out and learning new things like I used to. So
absolutely, building your sex robot does not count.
Yeah, it does.
Please let us know what you are looking forward to in 2020.
As a lube dispenser right in the hand, so you don't even have to like have a whole
dispenser
other arm.
is
It's already in there.
who said in the hand? It's already.
Yep, there we go. You know how a robot anatomy works. Please let us know in the comments floating above John over here, the Jingle Bell himself, what you're looking forward to in 2020, whether that be entertainment, technology, or some personal goals of your own. I'd love to chat with you about it, as well as these two lugs over here. And until next year, cheers.
Cheers.